Well, let's talk to Vicky Blake now, who's the past president of the UCU and has been at the picket today in Sheffield. Good afternoon, Vicky.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to talk to you. What do lecturers want then out of this?
The first thing I need to say is we don't only represent lecturers. There's a whole range of university staff on strike. So we're also talking about IT staff, library technicians, counsellors. So there's a whole range of staff. But what we want is a fair deal. We're in a situation where turning universities into business has meant a reduction of spending on staff. So we're dealing with lower pay, really poor job security. And as an example, I think people at home might be quite shocked to learn that at Sheffield University, 550 lecturers are on 0-hour contracts. So they're really struggling at the sharp end of the cost of living crisis. It means that typically they're only allocated teaching by semester. So we're talking 12 weeks at a time. And we even have hundreds of examples over the years of people not receiving a formal contract until their teaching has already begun. So there's a lack of clarity over the hours offered to them, which makes it difficult to plan ahead, to plan a life. So we have a situation where we have unfair low pay and pay inequality because there are significant pay gaps between men and women, there are race pay gaps, there are disability pay gaps. And that inequality is set to repeat in retirement because it's baked into the system. So we're also taking action over pay and conditions and over unjustified, unnecessary cuts to some of our pensions. And we're in a situation, and I was listening to the students that you were interviewing just now, where students are being forced into these huge amounts of debt, but they deserve to be given the best possible learning conditions. And it isn't right that they are being taught and supported at university by people who very frequently have to work multiple jobs to get by. That's something I've done myself, and it's something I've been speaking to strikers at Sheffield and Sheffield University this morning about. It's really, really tough. And I think a lot of people at home will be maybe thinking to themselves that lecturers have, good pay, good conditions. And unfortunately, that is just not the case for so many of our members. So that's why we're out. We feel we have no other option, having tried repeatedly asking, having put our case with all of the figures, the stats, making the case that better supported staff mean we're in a better position to support students.
So do you think those students are behind you then?
I think a lot of students are behind us, and as you've just heard, a lot of students are expressing that support. And where they're expressing frustration, it's because of the disruption to their education. And I think the thing is that their anger needs to be directed to the people who have caused this problem, and that is the vice-chancellors, that is the senior leaders in this sector, because we know that there is money there, and we know that there are different financial decisions that could be made that would enable them to pay staff properly, to take meaningful action over job insecurity, over pay inequality, over workloads that are making people really sick and unwell. They have the money there to do that, but they are choosing to spend it on other things.
So where do we go from here then, Vicky? I mean, is it a case of, I don't know, do you have to sit down and talk about this with the management?
Well, we have been, and that's the thing. We have been in negotiations at the national level, and we've also been trying our very best to have talks at the local level as well to get employers to understand this. It's a myth that we haven't been around the table. We have been, and we are currently in talks being mediated by ACAS as well. So there are talks happening, but what we haven't seen is a proper, meaningful offer that addresses the needs, and that those needs inform the demands that we have made as a union for our members.
It's good talking to you, and thank you for your time. It's Vicky Blake then, who's the past president of the UCU, has been on that picket line in Sheffield today.